Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to have a quick look as a quick start guide if you're going to be using QuickBooks for the first time. We're going to find out if QuickBooks is right for you, is easy to use for you, and importantly, how to get started. The whole point of this video is to find out how to get started in QuickBooks and also if QuickBooks is right for you. So if you're on the fence at all and not 100% sure if QuickBooks is right for you and your business, then this is a video for you. Let's have a look.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me.
Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant, certified UK trainer with a fancy new logo. Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks chap known on the internet, and also head of accounts over at Boffix. Now this video is really straightforward. Is QuickBooks right for you? If you're thinking about using QuickBooks for the first time, then stay tuned for this video where we go through with you. Before you can decide if QuickBooks is right for you, you need to decide which version of QuickBooks it is. So if I head to my channel and go to any of my videos and head over and look at the description panel, you'll notice that I have the option Visit Boffix. From this page, all I need to do is go to the store, and from here we have discounted version of QuickBooks for you. Furthermore, at the bottom there is this which QuickBooks license option, find out, and we've put together a handy little quiz for you to find out by going through the questions which QuickBooks is right for you. Because QuickBooks Online has 3 different versions: QuickBooks Simple Start, Essentials and Plus, and making sure you get the right one it's going to be crucial to understand if QuickBooks is right for you. Once you've done it though, you're ready and waiting to go from here. Now, there's a little bit of process of you getting yourself set up on QuickBooks. I'll show you here as it fast forwards through the actual first startup area. But once you've got your license and you're all set up, this is the screen you're going to see. Now in front of me is what I call my dashboard. From here, we can get a snapshot of how our business is doing. The Get Things Done tab just here is all about making sure that we can have shortcuts available to quickly get something done within QuickBooks. Whereas the Business Overview is a great little insight into how your business is doing. Notice without me asking, I'm being told what my profit and loss, my expenses, my invoices, my sales are doing within QuickBooks. Now, if you need to make any adjustments to QuickBooks, Company Cog, Your Company, Accounts and Settings is where you need to go. And really, the first time you use QuickBooks, highly recommend you going through this Company tab just here and filling in the information as required. That way you can get all your company set up correctly for use within QuickBooks Online. And it's going to be really important that we get this stuff right now, because some of these settings can have a knock-on effect to what features and opportunities you'll have in QuickBooks, which is going to dampen your experience. Once I'm happy with my settings, I press Done and come back to this screen. Now it's important we understand some vital areas. Top left hand corner is your New button. And this is going to be the place where you're going to understand how to create something new. And the ones I would always recommend new people do is first of all an invoice. Now an invoice, the most important thing to do first of all is create a customer. And literally all you need to do is start typing the customer in. You'll be prompted then to add a new customer, and you'll have the options here to add some details. Once I've gone putting the details in, as I needed, and press save, then every time I come back to that customer, those default information is going to be there for me. I must ensure I get the date right, and then finally the important thing is going to be your product and service. Now your product and service is effectively what you've sold within QuickBooks. So you can use the options that are there, or you can create a new product and service. For this one, I'm going to just use the default sales. And then all I need to do is put my quantity and put my rate. In this particular example, I've chosen to be VAT registered. So I'm also being asked for my VAT element just here. I can choose between if I want it to be exclusive, so it adds the VAT on, or inclusive and it works the VAT back forwards. This can all be done by this button up here. Changing my VAT code will then change what type of VAT it's going to be. So one of the nice things about QuickBooks is actually it's doing a lot of it for me. It's getting my quantity, it's getting my rate, and it's figuring out my VAT. And this balance at the top here is all being calculated automatically. I don't have to do any of the manual calculations, and I'm confident that it's being done correctly. Once I'm happy that my invoice is correct, and that's the invoice I want my customer to pay, I use the drop down arrow here to select what option I want to go first. Do I want to send it? Or do I want to click new? Or do I want to close it? If I send it, I actually get to send the QuickBooks invoice directly through QuickBooks. And as simple as that, I've sent my first invoice. Now for me to see my sales, I go over to my sales area. I can have a look at all sales. I can look at all my invoices. I can look at list of customers. And at the top here, I have a nice money bar where I can go and filter that information down to say who actually still owes me money. Once I've found the customer I'm looking for, I click on the customer. I can use this edit button up here to be able to change their details, or I can go through the transactions that the customer already has. Now for me to go into any of these transactions, I literally click on the transaction and I'm brought to there where I can make any adjustments I need to. Now let's use that new button to put an expense in. For an expense, I choose a supplier. I pick where it's expensed from, what my date is, and then all I need to do is pick what it relates to. Choose a VAT code that I've been charged at. What I highly recommend is attaching a document here that proves what VAT or what transaction it is you've been looking at, and also check on this right hand side that whatever VAT, if you are VAT registered, is being claimed is correct. Once I'm happy with that, save and close. Now from an expenses point of view, I jump to my expenses. I can see a list of all the expenses I've had, including the one I've just created. Or I can look at it from a supplier view as well. And again, jumping into a supplier, I can see what transactions they have associated with them. Now, one key thing to note is the difference between some of these transactions. So from a customer side of thing, we looked at invoice, but also it's worth knowing sales receipt. Now, an invoice is something that you're going to send an invoice out for, and then some point later, someone's going to pay it and you're going to mark that as paid. Whereas a sales receipt is something that you've already been paid for and you've received the money and you're trying to record it. So for example, if you're a contractor or someone like that, you'll send a sales invoice out and they will pay you at a later date. Whereas if you're a cafe or anything like that, then you're going to be recording as sales receipts because you've already received the money and you're just telling QuickBooks what that money relates to. On the supplier side of things, we've already looked at an expense. But the other one I want to draw your attention to is bill. Now, an expense is something that you've already paid for. So you've gone to the post office, you bought some stamps. They're not going to let you leave the post office without paying for those stamps. So that's an expense. A bill, on the other hand, is something that you've acquired the transaction or acquired the item, but the agreement is that you're going to pay for it at a later date. What normally happens in this scenario is you have multiple bills, you pay them all at once during a statement. So an expense is something you've already paid for, and a bill is something you're going to pay for at a later date. Pro tip is the receipt section just here. You can upload transactions or send transactions in via email, or better yet, use your mobile phone and use the handy snap receipt function to be able to use your camera on your phone to be able to take photos of receipts. Using any three of those methods means that QuickBooks will process the transaction and extract the information out there, just like it's done here. I took a photo of this transaction on my phone. It's extracted the date, the amount, and important for me, the VAT as well. Meaning that I'm saving a ton of time and I'm making sure it's accurate as well. Once those transactions are in QuickBooks, I can then either create a new transaction or, better yet, I can let it interact with my banking. So what's so special about banking in QuickBooks? Well, the best thing about it is you can actually add a bank account to QuickBooks Online. So for example, up here I can use the link account option to find the bank that I need to, and then I can add the bank accordingly. Each bank is completely different, but it will guide you through and add that bank. And then after 90 days, we have to reconnect the bank due to open banking regulations. When you add a bank, you're presented with this screen. And this is what we call our bank card. And it tells us a lot about it. It tells us the name of the bank, the amount of money that's in the bank at that point in time, and the amount of money we have in QuickBooks. Ideally, these two will match. We know when it was last updated, And then we have the most important number of all, just here. That number represents how many transactions QuickBooks is aware of, but haven't yet put into QuickBooks. You see, the way QuickBooks works is that when you connect the bank, they all come into a holding area called For Review. And it's your job then to say basically what those transactions related to. Let's have a look. So in this really brief example, I have one transaction in my For Review, and I need to move it from For Review to either Categorized or For Review and Excluded. Now, if I'm moving the transaction from For Review to Excluded, that's only done in very rare circumstances. That's when you've made a mistake, and that transaction should never be in QuickBooks. So, most of the time you're going to go from For Review to Categorize. And what you're doing is you're telling QuickBooks what that transaction is. And when you go from For Review to Categorize, there's normally two scenarios. Scenario one is the transaction already exists in QuickBooks. Maybe you've already added the transaction, either by taking a photo of it or adding the transaction manually. If that's the case, then you're going to match the transaction. And scenario two is you're going to add a brand new transaction. Let's have a look. Now, if we were going to match the transaction, QuickBooks would make this green and it'll give you the option for the match. If I click into the transaction, then it gives me all the options I need to actually deal with it. I can categorize the transaction, which means that I basically allocate where it belongs to. I can try and find a match if I'm adamant that QuickBooks has that transaction in QuickBooks already. I can record as transfer if I'm recording from one bank account to another, or credit card payment as well. In this case, I'm going to choose to categorize. When I choose to categorize, notice there's an asterisk on category and VAT. I must have a VAT rate. If I don't have a VAT rate, I get an error. And I must pick the category. Now, sometimes QuickBooks is really clever and it will already try and tell you what it believes that category is going to be. But when you press this add button down here, you're agreeing that both the VAT and the category are correct. So when you press add, make sure your category is correct. When you do add the transaction, the number here will change. And if you're adding a transaction, the in QuickBooks figure will change as well. And again, your aim is to try and get these two figures the same. When this number and this number matches, you know you're into a good. The next thing I would highly recommend is use the reconcile option. From here, you can get your bank statement out. You can tell QuickBooks what your bank balance should be. And then you can get QuickBooks to actually mark it as reconciled so that the balance that you said in your bank account agrees with what's in QuickBooks. And that's going to give you the most confidence going forward. Finally, reports. Here's all the reports that you need and have able to make decisions about your business. Don't forget, there's also the opportunity up here to do Performance Center, which can break down those reports in much more graphical basis. And sometimes that can be a much better experience for you. And there we have it. A real quick rundown of QuickBooks Online to try and give you a grasp of A, where to start, B, if it's right for you, and C, to give you a taster of what to expect. Now, a lot of these I've quickly gone through, but don't despair, because on this channel there's plenty of content going into much more detail on every aspect we've just looked at. So if you want to go through in anything more detail, my recommendation is to use that subscribe button and get yourself subscribed. It's free, and more importantly, it's going to give you the confidence you need on QuickBooks Online. Now, let me know below which version of QuickBooks you're going to be going for and which parts you need to have the most amount of help with. My name's been Aaron Patrick. As always, been a pleasure to do this video for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want. Yeah, I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. All the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, cause I can get them out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah. You know I want him nah, 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 nah. My heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah.
Hello and thank you for watching that video. What you may not know is this channel that you've watched this video from is part of a wider group. That wider group is called AppleCore Production, and the 3 channels that we have involved are as follows: Aaron Patrick the QuickBooks Chat, Boffick's Tax Tip. Finally, we have AppleCore Live and Geeky. All the links and everything are down below in the description, but it really means a lot to us if you can go and give a like to the other channels as well.